Today we'll check out all these little details inside FIFA 23 that make it super realistic. Well, if you slide tackle inside FIFA 23, you'll notice that you leave lines on the pitch. The pitch has been completely reworked and it leaves pitch wear detail wherever you slide with your feet or your knees. You can also use this feature to create some really beautiful artwork in the game. And here's a portrait I created of one of my French girls. There is a Mexican wave inside the stadium. It looks so sensational to see 5 duplicate models of crowds standing up one after each other. You'll also have players warming up on the side of the pitch while you're playing your games. The game takes into account all the players that are about to be substituted and puts them on the line and starts warming up, and sometimes these players even leave the pitch. There's a new corner kick cinematic inside the game where the player goes up to the corner, grabs the ball and spins the ball in his hand, sometimes even points players to make them motivated to do a set piece. But the problem is, we are gonna skip it. There are new ball boy models and ball boy animations inside the game where the ball boy sits down and somehow makes the ball appear magically and then throws it back inside the game. It is quite realistic and fun to see that they have added this kind of magic inside the game. If you go up close to the ball, you'll see the ball deforming as soon as it touches the feet of the player. I'll be honest, the first time I saw this, I was extremely amazed at the amount of detail they put inside their games, but now when I see this, I feel like, This year they have also changed the fingers of the goalkeepers. A very revolutionary change, and everybody in the community asked for this, and I'm glad that they finally listened. When the ball actually approaches the fingers of the goalkeepers, they move. And the first time I saw this, I moved with the fingers, so I know how good it feels. You will also notice players sweating inside the game. When the time passes inside the game, the players start to sweat, they start getting tired, and this kind of detail is quite appreciated. Only if you could launch the game on PC. You can also notice players standing watching the penalty shootout when it happens, and they hope that their star player doesn't miss it. When you take a really hard shot inside this game, due to the force inside the field, the grass particles come out in a second. They disperse in every direction and add a feeling of realism. We are gonna say it together. Everybody says it together with me. Nobody cares. There are new hypermotion replays when you strike a shot from far off and the ball goes boom. It looks quite cool, but it does get boring after a while, and we skip it. There's a new goal kick cinematic inside the game where the goalkeeper goes to the edge and asks for the ball. In this animation, the goalkeeper goes and grabs the ball and puts the ball down and takes the goal kick like a real cinematic broadcast display. The problem is that we all are gonna skip this thing. You will notice players breathing fog out in cold weather. This is a very nice detail if you look very closely, but nobody goes this close and checks these details out, so it's kind of useless. There's new throw-in cinematics in the game where the players run in and the camera goes close. You can lay down behind the wall in FIFA 23. I don't know what's the use of this feature, because if the opponent sees that you're laying down, he's not gonna shoot a low free kick anyways. But I think it's there for realism, I guess. If you hold LT L2 while shooting or crossing, your player will use the outside of the foot, which is an extremely realistic animation. The problem is that everybody is misusing the animations to score goals from outside the box because it's extremely broken. Good job, EA. The goalposts move when you actually hit the post in the game. It's really nice to see that they take attention to detail to this level actually. That when players online are raging why they hit the post the 3rd time in a row, they want to make sure it looks realistic. There are some new defender blocks inside the game where the feet and the limbs move when the ball hits them. A similar feature used to exist back in FIFA 18 when the ball used to hit your joystick and you would lose the ability to become a father. There's a thing called off-ball humanization in the game. When the match goes on, you'll see players on the pitch talk to each other, point towards something, raise their hand and ask for the ball, sometimes even tap their shoulders and adjust their feet. These kind of animations are added inside the game to add more life to the game. Moving on, let's talk about the new hair strand system. This has been in the game for a couple of years now, but every year it's getting better. With new player scans coming in, you can see players moving around the pitch with these hair movements. You can also see New Haaland's hair strand system, where he has this little thing at the back of his head and some little hair strands in the front of his face as well, which is quite detailed and it's good to see. If you play a match with West Ham inside the London stadium, you'll see the match begin with a lot of bubbles. These bubbles stay on the pitch for a while and they look very good, and surprising to be honest that this kind of thing actually exists inside the game. I came to know this was in the game since the last 2-3 years, but I never noticed, but a very nice detail that you might have missed. Okay, so the next one you have to check out really close. When the player shoots the ball with all of his force, the muscle of the players on the thighs actually deformed when they actually take a shot. It's nice to see EA adding all of these details, and it helps the game look much better. You will see sometimes stewards and staff members of the stadium moving up and down the pitch. This is a very minute detail, but it is done very well and it looks very good inside the game. The next one is the line color during snow matches. When you play a snow game inside FIFA, it's very hard to recognize where the line was, and thus they have changed the color to yellow to spot the lines better during snow matches. A very nice detail in the game. Another thing that has improved this year is the net physics inside the game. They have updated the net physics to be a 3D model, and it reacts to the ball, and when the ball goes in, it completely simulates through the animation, feeling like a real net inside the game, which is good to see. This one is going to be specifically inside career mode, but when you dominate a team for like 6 and 7-0, when you score a lot of goals, you'll see fans of the enemy team leave the pitch completely and the stadium becomes completely empty, which is to represent that they are completely frustrated of their scoreline. There are some new crowd cinematics inside the game where you'll see stewards taking pictures, actually watching the match with their own kids, and the crowd models have completely improved this year. Props to EA on this one. When you put the ball out behind the ad boards, you'll see some wires running around the pitch. This is done to add more realism and improve the game in general. These details are so minute but are taken care of by the environment staff of this game, and I really like how they've done this. If you boot the ball out in the exteriors of the stadium, you'll see a lot of parallaxing inside the dressing room, or when you boot the ball out on the other parts of the stadium, you'll see some backgrounds added in to add more parallax inside the stadium. This is done to add more realism and add more 3D feel when it comes to the backgrounds of the stadium. Things that don't matter in the grand scheme of things, but when looked from the top down, everything counts. Last one is for the people who don't play Volta, which is almost everyone. In the backgrounds of the Volta stadium, you'll see people walking around the pitch. You'll see a lot of background details that you might have missed, and you can see a lot of NPCs in the background to add more vibrancy to the environments as a whole composition in general. When you start up the game, you'll see players walk past each other and they talk to each other. Let's have a look.